Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolute masterclass on international shipping from China. If you're an SMB importer or an Amazon FBA seller trying to bring products stateside, this is absolutely your ultimate playbook. We're going to look closely at what actually separates the top China to USA freight forwarders from the rest of the pack. To do this, we'll leverage the extensive resources from AEB Logistics as our core case study, showing you exactly what to look for when doing your own freight forwarder comparison. We're breaking down the complexities, highlighting the real risks, and equipping you to turn your supply chain into a massive competitive advantage.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our agenda today is a direct roadmap. We've got Section 1, the Importer's Challenge. Section 2, choosing your freight method. Section 3, navigating customs and DDP. Section 4, the Amazon FBA pipeline. Section 5, trust, tracking, and tech. And Section 6, smart logistics for SMBs. By the end of this explainer, we'll completely demystify that complex journey from a Chinese factory straight to the US.
Section 1, the Importer's Challenge, navigating a vast sea of logistics. When we talk about international shipping from China, the stakes for SMBs are, well, they're incredibly high. A fantastic product can literally be ruined by bad logistics. Think about the sheer diversity of cargo out there. On one hand, you've got massive, heavy industrial equipment like CNC machines or mini excavators. One handling mistake there, and a lucrative asset turns into a 5,000-pound paperweight. On the other hand, you've got delicate consumer e-commerce goods or exercise equipment. Finding the right freight forwarding companies isn't just checking an operational box. It's a make-or-break financial decision, because each of these categories demands entirely different routing and compliance strategies. Section 2, choosing your freight method, speed versus cost. So once you know what you're shipping, you hit your first major crossroads. How do you physically get these goods across the ocean? It basically always boils down to this classic trade-off. Air freight gives you lightning-fast speed, getting your products to market in just days. But yeah, it comes at a significantly higher cost. Then you have sea freight. It is completely unmatched for cost effectiveness. It's the backbone of global trade for a reason. But you've got to bake weeks of transit time into your schedule. This choice fundamentally shapes your shipping rates and services, and ultimately, your cash flow. When comparing different freight forwarders, understanding the transit terms and load types is absolutely crucial. This isn't just boring logistics jargon. This is literally the language of your bottom line. Take LCL, less than container load. It's perfect for small SMB shipments sharing container space. Or FCL, full container load, giving you a dedicated container for high volume. But the shipping terms, that is where margins go to die if you aren't careful. FOB, or free on board, is great if you're an experienced buyer. But CIF, cost, insurance, and freight, you've really got to watch out for hidden destination costs there. And then there's DDP, delivered duty paid, which is your go-to for hands-off importing. Section 3. Navigating customs and DDP, the compliance checkpoint. So moving the goods is one thing, right? But what happens when that freight actually hits U.S. shores? For a lot of new importers, customs clearance is hands down the most stressful part of the whole journey. This is exactly why delivered duty paid, or DDP, is such a game changer. With a DDP agreement, the seller, or your forwarder acting on your behalf, takes on all the responsibility, the risk, and the costs until those goods are in your hands at the destination. If you want a seamless, hands-off experience, DDP is your ultimate risk mitigation tool. It stops your cargo from getting slapped with surprise fees and held up at the border. Now, going hand in hand with DDP is the HTS code. The Harmonized Tariff Schedule is this massive, complex index that customs officials use to classify your goods and figure out your duties and taxes. If you just guess this code, or worse, let an inexperienced supplier guess it for you, you're basically playing Russian roulette with your business. A top-tier partner steps in here and helps you nail down the exact, correct code. That keeps you 100% compliant and ensures you sail right through customs clearance without dealing with costly inspections and delays. Based on AEB logistics guides, we've zeroed in on some of the biggest profit-killing traps you need to avoid. We already talked about ignoring hidden costs in CIF terms and getting your HTS codes wrong, but you also absolutely have to watch out for things like the Lunar New Year's shutdown. Failing to account for that means an entire country basically goes on vacation, and your inventory just sits stranded for a month. And maybe the absolute worst trap? Falling for logistics scammers who offer totally unrealistic target prices. Listen, if a quote seems way too good to be true, there's a huge chance you'll get hit with ransom-style fees once your cargo is floating somewhere in the middle of the Pacific.
Section 4. The Amazon FBA pipeline, streamlined e-commerce logistics.
Let's shift gears and talk directly to a huge segment of modern importers out there,
Amazon FBA sellers. E-commerce logistics requires a totally different level of precision. Let's walk through this pipeline. Step 1 kicks off right at the supplier pickup in major hubs like Shenzhen, Shanghai, or Ningbo. Step 2 is the actual ocean or air transit to the U.S. Step 3 is the critical U.S. customs brokerage and clearance we just covered. And Step 4 is that vital last-mile trucking directly into Amazon's network for warehouse and fulfillment services. A dedicated FBA forwarder manages this entire journey, transforming raw manufacturing into prime-ready inventory without you having to touch a single box.
Section 5. Trust, Tracking, and Tech, the human element of global trade. While logistics is technically about moving physical boxes across oceans, at the end of the day, it's a relationship business. Finding a partner you can actually trust is everything. For example, AEB Logistics is led by founder Alan Fawn, bringing over 20 years of deep industry expertise to the table. In a space that's totally flooded with overnight pop-up agencies, having 2 decades of experience navigating port strikes, shifting tariffs, and global pandemics, well, that's the kind of institutional knowledge that separates a simple vendor from a real strategic partner.
But hey, you don't just have to take their word for it. A 4.3 trust score on Trustpilot is a pretty powerful indicator. It's solid proof that a company's educational claims and their marketing actually translate into reliable, real-world service for SMBs.
To put a face to those numbers, take a real SMB like Majestic Zen. They point out exactly what matters most when your cash is tied up in inventory halfway across the globe. They say Alan is easy to communicate with, always responds quickly, and makes the whole process simple and without headaches. When you're managing complex international supply chains, the absence of headaches is honestly the ultimate luxury.
Now, what's really interesting about this next piece of feedback from Purify US is how they emphasize being kept updated at every single stage of the process. Being proactive with updates completely removes that inherent stress. That terrible black box feeling of global shipping where you just cross your fingers and hope. You should never have to beg your forwarder to tell you where your container is.
And today, that kind of dedicated human customer service is being supercharged by technology. The best forwarders are combining that crucial human touch with advanced AI integration and live tracking tech. So you're getting the total peace of mind of having a dedicated account manager paired with the real-time data visibility of modern software. It practically ensures your cargo is never out of sight.
Section 6. Smart Logistics for SMBs. Key takeaways for your bottom line.
We have covered a lot of ground today, so let's wrap this up into your final freight playbook. First, when you're getting quotes, always use specific target prices so you're comparing apples to apples and dodging those scammers. Second, lean on DDP for totally stress-free customs clearance. Third, demand transparent communication. Find a partner whose clients actually rave about how responsive they are. And finally, leverage forwarders who take the time to educate you, not just transport your stuff. The right partner acts as a direct extension of your own business, optimizing your whole workflow from the factory floor right to your customer's door. So what does this all mean for you? Well, I want to leave you with this question. Look closely at your own operations right now. Are hidden costs, delayed containers, and logistics headaches eating away at the profit margins you've worked so incredibly hard to build? Or is it finally time to upgrade your global shipping partner and turn your supply chain into a well-oiled machine? Take the insights we unpacked in this explainer, evaluate your current setup, and don't be afraid to demand more from your freight forwarding company. Thanks so much for joining us, and here's to much smoother shipping ahead.